I pulled into the driveway with the biggest smile I'd had in months. The papers were signed, notarized, legal. My grandmother's house, the little 3-bedroom with the garden she used to tend every morning, was finally officially mine. I sat there. For a moment, engine off, just staring at the folder on the passenger seat. I could almost smell her roses through the leather butt. When I opened the front door, I heard voices coming from the kitchen, my wife Sarah's voice and her father's deep, serious. Careful, I froze. Let me back up. My name is Daniel. I'm 41 years old. I work as a logistics coordinator for a mid-sized shipping company, not glamorous, but steady. My wife, Sarah, and I have been married for 9 years. We have a 7-year-old daughter named Emma who likes dinosaurs more than princesses, and that makes me proud. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Sarah worked part-time as a dental hygienist. We split bills. We argued sometimes about small things, who forgot to buy milk, whose turn it was to do bedtime, but nothing serious. Nothing that made me question us. Her father, Richard, was a different story. Richard was a real estate investor. He owned a few rental properties around the city and always had an opinion about money. He wasn't cruel, but he had this way of making you feel like you were never doing enough, like you were always one bad decision away from failure. Sarah respected him, maybe too much, but I didn't think much of it. He was her dad. That's just how some families are. 3 months ago, my grandmother passed away. Her name was Helen. She raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 12. She was my everything, my stability, my courage, my home. When she got sick, I took time off work to be with her. I held her hand in the hospital. I read to her from the books she loved. And when she passed, I didn't just lose her, I lost the last person who knew me before the world got complicated. In her will, she left me her house. It was a small place on the edge of town, built in the 60s with a front porch and a backyard full of wildflowers. It wasn't worth a fortune, maybe $220,000 in today's market, but it was hers, and now it was mine. Sarah seemed happy about it at first. That's wonderful. Babe, she said the night I told her your grandmother loved you so much, but over the next few weeks something shifted. She started asking questions. Are you going to sell it? What's it worth, do you think? My dad says the market's really good right now. I brushed it off. Grief does weird things to people. Maybe she was just trying to be practical, but today I found out what was really going on. He stood in the hallway holding my breath. He won't even consider it, Sarah was saying. Her voice was tight, frustrated. Then you need to be firm, Richard replied. That house is a financial opportunity. If he's too sentimental to see that, you have to guide him. You've tried, Dad. He just shuts down whenever I bring it up. There was a pause. I heard the clink of a mug being set down. Sarah, Richard said slowly, you're his wife. You have legal rights to that property, especially in this state. If he won't sell it willingly, there are steps you can take. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? She asked. I mean, you could file a partition action, force the sale, split the proceeds. He'd get his half, you'd get yours, and you could both move on. Silence. Then Sarah's voice quieter now. Would that even work? It's in his name. Marital property laws vary, but in most cases, assets acquired during the marriage can be contested, and even if it was willed to him, you've been married long enough that you have a claim. I know a lawyer who could walk you through. Heidi felt like the floor had disappeared beneath mesh. Wasn't asking if she should do it. She was asking how. I didn't storm and I didn't yell. I just walked into the kitchen like I'd heard nothing. Hey, I said, forcing a smile. Didn't know you were here, Richard. He looked up from his coffee, calm as ever. Daniel, just stopped by to see my girl. Sarah turned quickly, her face a little too bright. How'd it go at the notary? Good, I said. Everything's signed. It's official. That's great, babe. She came over and kissed my cheek. I looked at her, really looked at her, and wondered when she'd started lying to me. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Sarah, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation in my head. If he won't sell it willingly, there are steps you can take. Wanted to believe I'd misunderstood, that it wasn't what it sounded like, but I couldn't shake the cold, sinking feeling in my chest. The house wasn't just property to me. It was the last piece of my grandmother, the last place where I could still feel her presence in the creaky floorboards. The wallpaper she'd picked out in 1987, the kitchen where she taught me how to make her famous lemon bars. And Sarah wanted to take it from me, not because we needed the money. We were doing fine. Not because it made sense, because her father told her The next morning I called my cousin Jenny. Jenny was a paralegal, sharp, no-nonsense, and the only person in my family I could trust with something like this. Danny, slow down, she said. What exactly did you hear? I told her everything. She was quiet for a moment, then she sighed. Okay, first of all, your grandmother willed the house to you. It's in your name. Legally, Sarah doesn't have an automatic claim to it just because you're married. It's considered separate property in most states, especially since it was an inheritance. Relief washed over me, so she can't force me to sell. Not easily. She could try to argue that the house has increased in value during your marriage, or that marital funds were used for upkeep, but that's a stretch if you've kept finances separate and haven't put her name on the deed. She'd have a tough time in court, but she could try. Rubbed my face. What do I do, Jun? You protect yourself and you talk to her, because if she's seriously considering legal action, you need to know where you stand. He didn't bring it up right away. I needed to be sure. I needed to see if she'd come to me first, if she'd be honest. But days passed, then a weekend. She said nothing. Instead, she kept hinting, kept pushing, Babe, we could really use the equity from that house. Emma's going to need braces soon, and our car's getting old. We're fine, Sarah, I know, but wouldn't it be nice to have a cushion? To not stress about money? I'm not selling. Other jaw tightened. You're being stubborn and being sentimental, I shot back. There's a difference. She didn't argue, but I could see it in her eyes. The frustration, the calculation. She was still planning something. 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. It was from a law office. I opened it with shaking hands. Dear Mr. Harmon, we represent Sarah Harmon in a matter concerning the property located at 4127 Maple Street. My vision blurred. Shed actually done. Itched. Hired a lawyer. Filed a petition. Started the process to force me to sell my grandmother's house. I sat down hard on the front steps, the letter crumpling in my fist. Emma came out a few minutes later, her little dinosaur backpack bouncing. Daddy, are you okay? I looked up at her bright eyes, her missing front tooth, her complete innocence. Yeah, sweetheart, I said, my voice cracking. I'm okay, but I wasn't that night. I confronted Sarah. You sued me, I said, holding up the letter. You actually sued me. Her face went pale. Daniel, my voice was shaking. Don't try to explain it away. You went behind my back. You talked to your dad. You hired a lawyer, and you're trying to take the one thing I have left of her. It's not like that. Then what is it like, Sarah? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you care more about money than you care about Mesh. Stood up, her eyes flashing. You're being selfish. That house is just sitting there. We could use that money for our family, for Emma. Don't bring Emma into this. She's in this, Daniel. We're supposed to be building a future together, and you're clinging to the past. I stared at her, and for the first time in 9 years, I didn't recognize the woman in front of me. Moved out the next day. I didn't take much. Some clothes, my laptop, a few books. I went to my grandmother's house. It was dusty, quiet. The furniture was still covered in sheets, but it smelled like Harry. Sat on the old couch and cried for the first time since the funeral. Jenny helped me find a lawyer. His name was Martin Cross, mid-50s. Kind eyes, a reputation for being relentless when it mattered. She doesn't have much of a case, he said after reviewing everything. The house was inherited. No marital funds were used. It's separate property. We can fight this. I don't want to fight, I said. I just want her to stop. Then we make her stop. The legal battle took 4 months, 4 months of depositions, paperwork, sleepless nights, and seeing my wife across a courtroom, looking at me like I was the enemy. Her lawyer argued that the house had appreciated in value during our marriage, that I'd used joint funds for utilities while visiting, that Sarah had a right to half. Martin tore it apart. Your Honor, the property was a specific bequest. Mr. Harmon is the sole heir the plaintiff has provided no evidence of significant financial contribution, and the claim of marital interest is unfounded. The judge agreed. Sarah's petition was denied. The house stayed mine, but I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty because I'd won the house, but I'd lost my marriage. Sarah didn't apologize. She didn't even look at me as we left the courthouse. Her father was waiting for her outside, his hand on her shoulder, whispering something I couldn't hear, and I realized he'd never let her go. She'd always choose him. We're divorced now. The process was quick, almost clinical. We split custody of Emma 50-50. Sarah kept the house we'd lived in together. I kept my grandmother's house. Emma asks me sometimes why Mommy and I don't live together anymore. I tell her that sometimes grown-ups make different choices, but that doesn't mean we love her any less. She nods, but I can see the confusion in her eyes. I Hate that. She has to carry that I still live in my grandmother's house. I painted the walls, fixed the porch, planted new flowers in the garden. Emma loves it here. She has her own room with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. On weekends we bake lemon bars together, using my grandmother's recipe, and sometimes when the house is quiet and the evening light slants through the kitchen window just right, I swear I can feel her here, not as a ghost, as a presence, a reminder that love isn't something you own, it's something you protect. I don't hate Sarahim angry, yes, hurt, absolutely, but I also feel sad for her because she let someone else tell her what mattered, and in doing so, she lost something. Really hope one day she sees that. But even if she doesn't, I'm at peace because I fought for what mattered to me, and I won. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Sometimes the people we love ask us to give up the things that make us who we are, and sometimes the hardest thing we'll ever do is say no, but boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to respect, and if someone can't walk across that bridge to meet you, maybe they were never meant to stay. Take care of yourselves and hold on to what's yours. Life has a strange way of settling into new rhythms. I wake up now to sunlight streaming through curtains my grandmother made by hand 30 years ago. The coffee maker, the same one she used every morning, gurgles in the kitchen while I pack Emma's lunches with me this week. Next week she be with Sarah. It's not perfect, but we're making it work. Emma adapted faster than I expected. Kids are resilient like that. She decorates her room here differently than the one at Sarah's house. Here she has more freedom, more space to be wild and messy and herself. Last Saturday, we built a tree house in the backyard. Well, I built it. She handed me nails and told me I was doing it wrong. It was the best day I'd had in months. Sarah and I barely speak now. Our communication is limited to a shared calendar app and occasional texts about pickup times or school events. Emma has a dentist appointment Thursday at 4. Got it. That's it. That's all we are now. Sometimes I wonder if she regrets it, if she lies awake at night thinking about what we lost. But I don't ask because honestly, I don't think I want to know. Richard, though, he's a different story. I saw him once about 2 months after the divorce was finalized. I was at the hardware store buying paint for Emma's room when I turned the corner, and there he was. For a moment, we just stared at each other. He looked older, tired. Daniel, he said, his voice flat. Richard, silence. Then he cleared his throat. How's Emma? She's good. Good, that's good. He shifted his weight like he wanted to say more but couldn't find the words. I didn't help him. Finally, he sighed. I was trying to help you know. I thought it was the right thing for Sarah, for your family. I looked him dead in the eye. You weren't helping, Richard. You were controlling. There's a difference. His jaw tightened. I was protecting my daughter from what? From me? I loved her. I would have done anything for her. But you made her think that wasn't enough. He didn't respond. I grabbed my paint cans and walked past him. I didn't look back. 3 weeks ago, something happened I didn't expect. I got a letter, not from a lawyer this time, from Sarah. It was handwritten. Her looping, careful script that I used to love seeing on birthday cards and grocery lists. My hand shook as I opened it. Daniel, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you should, but I needed to write it anyway. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. I know it doesn't undo what I did or fix what I broke, but I need you to know that I see it now. My dad told me I was being smart, that I was protecting myself, that marriage is about partnership and partnership means shared assets, but he was wrong and I was wrong for listening. I let him get in my head. I let him convince me that your grief was stubbornness, that your love for that house was you being impractical, but it wasn't. It was you honoring someone who meant everything to you. And I tried to take that away. I don't expect you to forgive me. I'm not even sure I forgive myself, but I wanted you to know that I regret it all. Of it. Emma talks about the treehouse you built, about the lemon bars you make together, about how you let her stay up late to watch documentaries about dinosaurs. A good dad. Daniel, you were a good husband. Toi just couldn't see it through all the noise. I hope you find someone who sees you the way you deserve to be seen. Sarahi read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. I didn't respond, not because I was angry, not because I wanted to punish her, but because some things don't need a response. Apologies are meant to free the person giving them, not to obligate the person receiving them, and I didn't owe her anything anymore. Last night, Emma asked me something that caught me off guard. We were sitting on the porch eating popsicles and watching fireflies. Daddy? Yeah, Bug? Do you still love Mommy? I paused, the question hanging in the warm summer air. You'll always care about your mom, Emma. She gave me you, and that's the best thing that ever happened to me. But do you love her? I thought about it, really thought about I'd love the person she used to be. I said finally, but people change. And sometimes they change in ways that mean they can't be in your life the same way anymore. She nodded, slowly licking her. Popsicle, are you sad? Sometimes I admit it, but I'm also okay because I have you and I have this house and I have memories of people who loved me for real. She leaned her head against my shoulder. I love you for real, Daddy. My throat tightened. I love you for real too, Bujim. Not looking for romance. Not yet anyway. Maybe someday? Maybe not, but I've started living again. I joined a community garden group. Turns out my grandmother's green thumb might have been genetics. I've made a few friends, other people who lost someone or went through a divorce or just needed a place to dig in the dirt and not talk about their problems. It's peaceful live. Also started writing, nothing fancy, just a journal, thoughts, memories, things I want to remember, things I want to tell Emma someday when she's older and has questions I might not have answers for. I want her to know that her dad fought for something, that he didn't let go of what mattered even when it would have been easier. This morning I planted roses in the front yard, the same kind my grandmother used to grow. I don't know if they'll take. I'm not as good at this as she was, but I'm trying. Emma helped me dig the holes. She got dirt all over her shirt and under her fingernails, and she laughed the whole time. When we finished, she stood back and looked at the garden with her hands on her hips, just like my grandmother used to do. It's gonna be beautiful, Daddy, she said. Yeah, I said, wiping my eyes. It really is if you're going through something like I did. If someone you love is asking you to give up a part of yourself to make them comfortable, I want you to hear this. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to protect the things that matter to you, even if it costs you the relationship, because a love that asks you to erase yourself isn't love, it's control, and you deserve better. I'm not saying it'll be easy. It wasn't for me, but on the other side of that pain is peace, and peace is worth fighting for. Him sitting on the porch now, watching the sunset over the garden. Emma's inside playing with her dinosaurs and singing off-key. House smells like lemon bars, and for the first time in a long time I feel like I'm home, not just in this house, but in my life, in my choices, in who I've become. My grandmother used to say a house is just wood and nails, Danny, but a home is where you're brave enough to be yourself. I'm finally starting to understand what she meant. Thank you for listening to my story. If it helped you in any way, if it made you think or feel or realize something about your own life, then it was worth sharing. Hold on to what's yours, protect your peace, and never let anyone convince you that your love isn't enough, because it is. It always was. Take care, and remember, boundaries aren't walls. They're the foundation of respect. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more real stories about love, betrayal, boundaries, and second chances. Your support means the world.